All right, students, today we're going to start Unit 7, Section 2, talking about factoring. Now, there's 4 ways we can do this, and the first one is factoring by the greatest common factor. Now, if you can remember the distributive property is where you take the product of A and B and add it to the product of A and C. By using the distributive property, it allows you to factor out the greatest common factor of the terms in a polynomial to write a factor formed of the polynomial. Okay? So let's look at this. We are going to factor each polynomial, and we're also going to check our answer. Okay, so let's look at this first term. Our first term is 2x squared. Okay, so when we factor that out, we get 2xx. Our second term is 4. When we factor 4 out, we get 2 and 2. Okay, what do they have in common? They have a 2 in common. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pull this 2 out, and when we pull the 2 out, what do we have left? We have x squared, and you're going to bring your subtraction sign down, minus 2. All right, so let's work it backwards, and let's check it. Now, check would be distributing. What is 2 times x squared? 2x squared. 2 times a negative 2, minus 4. Notice how those are the same, so we are right. Here's your answer right here when you factor out that 2. You're factoring out your greatest common factor. All right, let's look at this one. Our first term is 5b, so our factors for 5b are 5b. Our second term is 9b cubed. So our factors for 9 are 3 times 3, and for b cubed, 3b's. Okay, what do they have in common? They have 1b in common. So we're going to factor out that b. What do you have left? You have 5 plus 3 times 3 is 9, and 2b's are b squared. Okay, let's check it by distributing to make sure we're right. So b times 5 is 5b. b times 9b squared is 9b cubed. And we ended up with what we started with. Okay, we're going to do it again. We have 9d squared. So our factors for 9 are 3 times 3. Our factors for d squared are d times d. And then we have 8 squared. Our factors for 8 squared are 8 times h, which simplifies to 2 times 2 times 2 for the first 8, because that's 4 times 2. And then 2 times 2 times 2 for the second 8. All right, what do they have in common? The only factor they have in common is 1. So if the only factor they have in common is 1, you cannot factor this. You cannot factor that binomial. Okay? All right, let's look at number 4 here. We have 3 terms. Okay, so we're going to factor out each one. Find the common factor of each one. So we have 8x cubed. Well, that's 2 times 2 times 2 for 8. And for x cubed, I have 3 x's. And then for my 4 squared, or excuse me, my 4x squared, I have 2 times 2, x times x. And then for my last term, 16x, 4 times 4, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and then bring my x. All right, let's see. We have 4 in common, and we have 1x in common. So let's pull out the 4x, and what do we have left? We have 2x squared minus x minus 4. Okay? Now, let's check it. When you check this, you're going to distribute. So I have 4 times 2, which is 8, x times 8 squared, x cubed. 4x times a negative 1x is a negative 4x squared. 4x times a negative 4 is a negative 16x. And we're right back to what we had right here. So this here is your answer. When you factor that trinomial by pulling out the greatest common factor, which is your 4x. Okay, 5 and 6, I'm going to be quiet, work on my own while you work quietly. And if you get stuck, you can look up here. All right, students, I want y'all to be careful on this one because when you factor out, you're going to pull out this 2x squared on this last term here, but you can't put a 0 here as your term because when you distribute this, 2x squared times 0 is 0. Well, you need to be a negative 2x squared. So what you're going to put back in is the greatest common factor that they have left, which is 1. Okay? All right, let's see you do 16. Actually, guys, I need to explain something to you on 16. And the reason why is because we have both of these coefficients are negative. So when you have two negative coefficients, what you need to do is you need to go ahead and factor out that negative 1. Okay, when you factor out the negative 1, everything here goes to its opposite. So that would be a positive 14x plus a positive 12x squared. Okay, the reason why I can do that is because if I distribute it, I get a negative 4x and I get a negative 12x squared. Can you come back on Philmiddle lesson?
Yes, ma'am, I sure will.
All right, so once we factor out that negative coefficient, we can go ahead and look inside here. So we have, for this binomial, we have 14x. So that's 2 times 7 times x. And then for 12x squared, that's 2 times 6, 6 is 2 times 3, x and x. All right, so we have a 2, and we have an x. All right, so my negative 1 is right here. I'm going to pull out a 2x. Okay, so I have 7 plus, what is that, 6x? All right, so let's simplify. Negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. 7 plus 6x. Okay, let's check it. So here's my answer, but let's double check it. So when we distribute, we get a negative 14x, negative 14x, and then a negative 12x squared. Okay. We'll see y'all do this one on your own. I'm going to do it quietly.